not let you down.
The GOP debate. The herpetic infection that just keeps on infecting. I ain't right. Since we did start off with DeSantis and his creepy smile, did y'all also know that your boy was... Now, if you watched live with me, I kept saying it looked like he had a little liner and a little highlighter on. Looks like I wasn't wrong. Take a look.
The highlight of the entire debate was watching Ron DeSantis put on makeup. I thought that was illegal in Florida and, Republicans. Why are men putting on makeup? It looks like we have the clip. There she is. Oh, but, wait a minute. Let's get a little bit of a close-up there.
You got a little something on your nose. Let's not be suspicious.
That makeup brush was real concerned about sniffing right here. I'm just saying, don't be suspicious, Ron. Don't grind your teeth. They already know.
I'm just saying, I can be a little observant. Okay. Okay, I thought I had put a pen over here so I can mark this off. Well, we're going to the notes because I got more notes regarding Fulton County. It is getting juicy. This is really turning into a telenovela. But first off, did y'all realize that Trump is the first U.S. president not to commission a presidential portrait? He ain't got no money, y'all. He can't pay for nothing. I thought he would have at least got, grifted the people so that, he could have a portrait. I guess not. I guess his mugshot is going to be his portrait. I guess that's what's going to happen. It's going to be his portrait. But let's go over yesterday's timeline leading up to Trump being arrested and booked. And if you were not aware, ahead of the noon deadline, they all turned themselves in. All of them. And keep in mind, with RICO cases, they always start out with a whole bunch of co-defendants and then it kind of whittles down. But let's go through it. Yesterday at 11:43 a.m., former Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger was subpoenaed to the Meadows hearing that'll take place on Monday. 12:45 p.m., Meadows agreed to a $100,000 bond. 12:56 p.m., ADA Willis filed a motion in response to Cheeseborough's speedy trial request. As we already know, she agreed to a speedy trial for all 19 defendants and requested a trial start date of October 23rd of this year. At 1:37 p.m., Jeffrey Clark's bond was set at $100,000. At 2:15 p.m., Mark Meadows turned himself in. At 2:27 p.m., Harrison Floyd, the dum-dum that, where's he at? Right there. The black man at the top that was already arrested earlier this year, I believe in February, for allegedly assaulting an FBI agent and the head of Blacks for Trump, Black Voices for Trump. He's still in jail. He's still in the clink. And this one right here is already grifting money, but he ain't giving none to him. And it's funny because when he does finally get out and all of these cases, he ain't going to have no black voice for nobody because he's going to be a felon. But 2:31 p.m., Trump's new attorney, remember we went over that last night, filed an opposing brief to the speedy trial, and a motion will be made to sever from Cheeseborough. But if you remember, the judge already granted Cheeseborough's speedy trial and already severed him from everybody else. So we ain't got to worry about that. At 4:15 p.m., Judge McAfee set a schedule for Cheeseborough trial. That's the trial that'll start on October 23rd. Cheeseborough, excuse me, the defendant's attorney, keep in mind, the defendant's attorneys have yet to see discovery at the time of the speedy trial request, but the request can be retracted before October 23rd. And I just want to throw in this caveat regarding the speedy trial rules in the state of Georgia. If the trial is delayed by the district attorney's office before the start, that means before October 23rd, they say, hey, we need to push this off. That results in an automatic acquittal. So there are a lot of legal pundits that are like, maybe they're doing this and other people are okay with it because they don't believe that Fonnie Willis is ready to try all of them on the 23rd, but they forgot. She was building a case for prosecution, not just a case to present to the grand jury for 2.5 years. Ms. Mamas is ready. And Fulton County allows cameras in the courtroom. And the judge already said, I'm cool with the cameras being in the courtroom. So starting on Monday, we're going to get a bird's eye view. Now, let's really update on what's been going on semi behind the scenes with all the co-conspirators, co-defendants, okay? Keep in mind all of the arraignments for everybody, because in Fulton County, you get booked on one day, you get arraigned on another day. I know with Trump's other arraignments and indictments, it's been all bunched up together. Those will start after Labor Day. So go ahead, get your good cookout on, get you some leftovers, and we're going to get into it. Now, co-conspirator Sean Steele, via court filing, states that the fake electors met at Trump's direction to sign false papers claiming that they were legitimate electors. Looks like folks are already starting to jump ship, like, I'm not going down with this shit, but I'll testify to make sure he go down. Mark Meadows, Jeffrey Clark, and 3 others want their cases moved to federal court. This case will be heard Monday, and the following people have been called to testify. Raffensperger's investigator, Ryan. Ryan is one that received phone calls directly from Trump, and Francis Watson that we know thus far. Jeffrey Clark claims that a Trump memo is what swayed him into his involvement with all this election fraud stuff. Meadows' January 6th testimony doesn't appear to be as complete as previously thought, because when Meadows was called before the Department of Justice for their grand jury for questioning and everything, it seemed like he was just spilling his guts, because remember, he disappeared for a long time. He was radio silent. But once again, legal pundits are saying that if it was a more complete case from Meadows, the charges from the DOJ, there would have been more charges. It would have been heftier, things like that. And it's looking like there's some information that Meadows withheld. Hence the fact that he's trying to fight these charges, or at least get it moved to the federal court so vigorously. And Miss Sidney Powell has also requested a speedy trial. It looks like the Wizard of Oz has set fire to the curtain he's been hiding behind. And if you notice, a lot of the voter base for Trump, a lot of his staunch supporters, they know they can't support him. That's why they're now trying to threaten attorneys, district attorneys, attorney generals, the FBI, judges. They don't want to address the charges of the crimes. Even if you bring it up on social media or offline, they'll start talking about everything else. They'll bring up talking points like, you all don't even know what bathroom to use. What's that got to do with the conversation we're having? They try to avoid it. They know he's guilty. They don't even care about Trump, the person, because they also know that Trump's elitism, perceived or not, tends to seep through. They just need a mascot for them to continue to returning to being overt instead of covert with their problematic behavior and verbiage. And if you want more on that, as always, check the links in the description of the video. I'll type that all out for you. Now, some of you have heard the song or heard commentary regarding the latest song by Oliver Anthony and his explanation of what he meant. But when you listen to the song, you can tell he's a bit classist amongst everything else. Well, the right wing grabbed hold of the song, like duh, and were using it for fundraising and to increase their voter base. Well, he came out with a rebuttal. Let's hear what he has to say, and we'll talk about it on the other side. I'll see you in 2 and 2.
If there is anything for me to address at all with you, it's that the one thing that has bothered me is seeing people wrap politics up into this. I'm disappointed to see, like, it's aggravating seeing people on conservative news try to identify with me like I'm one of them. It's aggravating seeing certain musicians and politicians act like we're buddies and act like we're fighting the same struggle here, like that we're trying to present the same message. You know, I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and I've tried to be polite to everybody, and I've talked to hundreds of people the last 2 weeks. But it seems like certain people want to just ride the attention of this song to maybe make them their own selves relevant, and that's aggravating as hell. The other thing that I find aggravating is, well, you know, like, it was funny seeing my song in the, it was funny seeing it at the presidential debate, because it's like, I wrote that song about those people, you know, so for them to have to sit there and listen to that, that cracks me up. But it was funny kind of seeing the response to it. Like, that song has nothing to do with Joe Biden, you know? It's a lot bigger than Joe Biden. That song is written about the people on that stage, and a lot more too, not just them, but definitely them.
So the new marketing strategy is to pretend like you're new to the planet and new to social media and new to United States politics. Noted. You're also going to try to infantilize yourself, which traditionally works for white people. Noted. Now, given that Oliver intentionally marketed the first verse of his song, he allowed people on the internet who were known for having hot takes tried to interpret his song metaphorically when it was quite clear that he wrote it literally. He did not write that song about the people who stood on the debate stage for the GOP. He used their talking points to music. He knew what he was doing. This way, he can straddle the fence and make money on all sides, because there are still people fight. Oh no, I told you he's being taken advantage of by the GOP, by the conservative. He is a conservative. He is a conservative. And if you think I'm reaching and I'm being harsh on him, check out his YouTube channel. He has a playlist. And what is it brimming with? Right-wing conservative talking points, pundits, and more. He knew what he was doing. He found a way to straddle the fence and grift both sides of the equation. And he did it for less than nothing. He got some bare bargain bones PR, because he's allowed the conspiracy theorists and the pseudo-intellectuals of the internet to try to break apart his song as if he said something really great. He didn't. He didn't. There was no nuance. There was no innuendo. He said period point blank who he couldn't stand. He said period point blank who he believes receives welfare and who shouldn't. He wasn't playing on words. He's no Aniko. This was not Jericho. He knew that by releasing those clips and gaining momentum behind that song, that somebody from that debate would use the song. My thing is, a lot of these marketing plans are genius. And what stalls them are the artists themselves that want to come out and act all innocent. No one did. Look at what happened to Jason Aldean. You made an anthem an ode to racism. If you would have owned it, you'd probably still be at number one. Because we know hating black folks and the trans community is big money, honey. Big money. You want to get rich overnight? Say some anti-black or anti-trans shit. Oh, Within 24 hours, your numbers will grow. You'll be able to monetize everything. They'll they'll buy all your merch and everything. You can get on live and just sit there and go, and they'll get. Your bills will be paid for the year. But Jason Aldean, I didn't know. Not taking ownership of it is what kills the PR campaign. Stop infantilizing yourself. Stand on it. See the marketing plan through. Y'all done had all these meetings. You done meticulously wrote these songs. They're supposed to just catapult your career. See it through. See it through. I mean, according to this one right here, break the law and lie. Your numbers will go up. They'll send you all sorts of money. Even after you've convinced them that you're a billionaire. All right, before we get into all the Am I the Assholes that were sent to me this week, and there's a lot of them this week. Kudos to y'all. Biden is tackling abortion rights for the POTUS 2024 campaign, since, if you notice, shortly after Roe v. Wade was overturned and the GOP was like, oh shit, we forgot this was just supposed to be a perpetual talking point, they removed all of their stances from all of their websites. It really wasn't until the debate the other night that anybody really spoke publicly about it. And even then, you can tell the GOP has not had a meeting about it. That's why the only thing currently on their platform is just removing food from children that they want you to protect, and banning books from children that they want you to protect, and kicking folks out of meetings as they're protesting gun violence in schools that are killing the kids that the GOP wants you to protect. But let's get into Biden and abortion rights.
Joe Biden has a new ad out focused on the fight for abortion rights. Take a look.
Reproductive health care decisions are among the most personal a woman will ever make. They are choices that should be made by you and your doctor. And the last people who should be involved are these guys.
First of all, I'm the one that got rid of Roe v. Wade.
Florida Governor DeSantis quietly signed into law one of the nation's strictest abortion bans.
Governor DeSantis, you signed a 6-week abortion ban in Florida.
I believe in a culture of life.
If I were president of the United States, I would literally sign the most conservative pro-life legislation that they can get through Congress.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
President Biden and Vice President Harris are determined to restore Roe v. Wade, and they will never allow a national abortion ban to become law. As long as they are in office, decisions about your body will be made by you, not by them.
I think this is a fantastic ad, and it's exactly the kind of message that Democrats need to hammer home before 2024. Look, the reality is that Americans are overwhelmingly pro-choice. In every single special election that's been held, where abortion has been on the ballot, the pro-choice side has won. And making it clear that Democrats and Joe Biden and Vice President Harris are on the side of women is absolutely crucial. But what did you think of this ad? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you're following along for the latest on news and politics.
I love how both sides of the aisle want us to forget recent history. Let's take not knowing previous history completely off the table. But they want us to forget recent history, the history that we're able to see unfold before our eyes in real time. And they're also banking on no one in this country knowing how government works. Because we could have protected Roe v. Wade. We could have protected Roe v. Wade multiple presidents ago. So I'm not going to put all of this on the backs of Joe, on the backs of Biden and Harris. I'm not. Because several presidents ago, Roe v. Wade could have been protected. but we're going to hold the standard to the president, who essentially is a figurehead. When you look at power, essentially a figurehead. We're not going to hammer down on the congressman, and we're going to act as if executive orders don't exist. We're going to pretend that Biden and Harris didn't watch this come all the way down the yellow brick road. And then when Dorothy made it back home to the land of no Roe v. Wade, then it was like, oh my gosh, what are we supposed to do? Oh my gosh, oh my God, let's tackle inflation. It's a great talking point. It's a wonderful talking point. I need this campaign promise to be more thought out than student debt loan was. I need Biden and Harris to not just make promises and try to gaslight the public, but I need them to step into Capitol Hill, step on the Capitol Hill and start talking to the people whom you need to pass legislation. Start calling people into the Oval Office. Start having luncheons at the White House. I'm tired of folks acting as if they don't know their own. Well, actually, a lot of them ain't acting. They don't know their own job descriptions. They just looked at the pay and benefits and was like, I'm going to apply for this job. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Well, you ain't qualified, girl. I'm going to tell them I am. I'm going to tell them I am. See, from what I saw from the last person that had to supervise the position, all I got to do is make it sound good, make it sound like I'm better than other people. Just tell them I come from humble beginnings. They seem to eat that up. That qualifies me. And isn't it funny that the good old boy working class that hate the elites, hate people like AOC, who've never hid that she had to work as a bartender, that she's a part of that poor working class that came up to fight for the people. Joe Biden, even though I don't like most of what he does, okay, he a little bit too close to conservatism for me, and too close, and he's too comfortable with being politically correct towards problematic people. The fact that he comes from humble beginnings, raised his kids under humble beginning. But the folks who it is confirmed, like we went over last night, to be the elites, to have benefited from legacies and nepotism and everything else, they're like, give me more. Give me more. Yeah, eat the rich, but not them. Not them. Eat the new rich. Oh, they're not rich? Okay, well, give me more of them. Like, I will never understand this. They will be so proud and puff their chest out for people like this cum guzzler who ain't never had a real job, who's never gone without a day who's never gone a day where they had to figure out where a meal is coming from or if the electricity is going to be on when they get home from school. Ain't never had to deal with public school education and falling apart books and subpar anything. But want to cherish him and everybody like him and the ones that he is trying to get in the company of. But those who really have made it from the mud, they hate. They hate. Love a Jason Aldean, but hate a Tyler Childers. Believe that Jason Aldean is one of them, but not the poor little dude that wrote about coal mining life because he grew up in coal mining country. When I say the greatest export that the United States has is propaganda and bullshit, and people want to tell me I'm wrong, we are living in a time where it is so rampant and bold in your face that the propaganda is working. That you are literally believing the opposite of what you see with your own eyes and hear with your own ears. That is some magical, mythical shit right there. I've encountered people in my life that have believed the worst about me, but have never met me. And then when they meet me, they're like, what do I believe? And that's why I say, or people who have been in my presence and then leave my presence, and folk, and it happens to everybody. I'm not saying it like me, like I'm so special and it only happens to me. I'm just using myself as an example because I ain't putting nobody else's business out there. Not unless it's one of them. You feel me? And they'll leave and believe all sorts of stuff because somebody else said it. That's why I tell people all the time, believe what you see with your own eyes and hear with your own ears. And question yourself if somebody can convince you what you just saw with your own eyes and heard with your own ears, the truth is the exact opposite. No, ma'am, Pam. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. All righty, daddy. Oh, let's get into this first. Am I the asshole? I don't know what any of these are. I just lined them up. Let's hope if there's any part twos, let's hope they're in order. Fingers crossed. Let's go.
Am I the a-hole for adopting another baby and telling my daughter to move out if she doesn't like it? I have 2 biological children. Recently we adopted a 2-year-old baby girl. Everyone except my husband is telling me that I made the wrong choice. This all started when one of my close friends had a surprise baby a couple years ago. Every other kid in the friend group is much older, and this new baby is just so sweet. She's so easy too, nothing like my kids as babies. She gave me serious baby fever, and my husband agreed he wanted to have another one. Since I'm already in my 40s, I decided against having one naturally. Adoption was the obvious choice. We brought her home 3 months ago. My children hate their new sister. They've been acting out a lot and are very close since she joined our family. They just can't get along. They would rather hide in their rooms with their cousins and avoid us. My daughter even told me I'm abandoning the family for something new and shiny, but she's just being a moody teenager. I haven't abandoned them at all, they have everything they could ever want. She even threatened to move in with my brother. I told her to go ahead and it shut her up pretty quick, but now she isn't talking to me. My friend who spurred this whole thing told me that I won't be a good mom at this age and just want a baby, not another child. We got into a big argument about it. There's less of an age gap between my kids and the baby versus her kids and new baby. It's just hypocritical coming from someone who had kids as a teenager and barely took care of them. And even if she's right, that's not her call to make. I thought she would be happy her kid has a built-in best friend now. I think my friend and daughter are being ridiculous. We have plenty of resources so the baby is taken care of. If anyone is abandoning the family, it's the one who wants to leave because we opened our hearts to love another child. Am I the a-hole?
Yet another reason why adoptees, for the most part, are against adoption. OP doesn't want to open her heart. She hasn't opened her heart. Doesn't seem like her heart was ever opened. I don't know what this friend has that OP wants and why she wants that closeness, but that child is going to be a pawn. Before you think I'm reaching, given the fact that she referred to her adopted child as a built-in best friend for someone else. Just because people are close in age or related does not mean they're going to be close in real life. Does not mean they're going to be besties for life. No. And you can't make them by just having them around. And having baby fever, get a puppy. Babysit for your child. Give her, for your friend. Give her a break. And if the children are feeling some type of way and you're not sitting down talking to them, you are not prepared to be a parent in the first place, let alone a parent again. And if your daughter is telling you that you're abandoning the family, that means you are now parading this 2-year-old around and you don't give a damn about your children and they see it. And the fact that even your friend is saying, hey, at this age, trust me, at 46, outside of babysitting, I ain't bringing no babies up in this house. I'm not built for getting up in the middle of the night anymore. I'm not built for, constantly running around playgrounds or getting on the floor playing with Barbies or Tonka trucks or whatever the child may be into. I am not. I'm not. And after you already have older children and you've already been in that pattern, in that schedule, and your husband sitting there talking about, yeah, it's good. Your husband doesn't like you. Your husband is glad that you have a shiny new bauble to take your attention so he can continue doing whatever the hell he was doing before. Yeah, they do. They treat the kids like personal dolls. And it's like you have the I can't think of what they're called, but they look like real babies, but they're doll babies. Go get one of those. Like I have a brand spanking new, just a couple weeks out the baby bakery nephew. I think he's so precious and so adorable. And what will I do? Just like I did with his older brother, I will babysit. I'll come over to get a parents to break. I'm not about to, and I'm definitely not about to go snatch up somebody, go pay for somebody else's child. Because what happens when this child becomes a teenager? And what are her teenage kids supposed to do with a 2-year-old? What they supposed to do with a 2-year-old sibling? Like, let's be real. Let's be real. Even when they become adults, even when everybody in this dynamic becomes adults, that 2-year-old isn't going to be hanging out with her siblings. That 2-year-old is going to be hanging out with her siblings' children. And how do I know this? Because on my maternal grandparents' side, my granny had siblings that ranged in age. Now, her and one sibling shared a birthday, many years apart. That sibling and my parents hung out because they're closer in age. That sibling and my dad are still close because they're closer in age. He loved his sister. He spent holidays with his sister. But hanging out and closeness, no. All righty. Whew, y'all, look. Lord Jesus. All righty. Y'all already got my brain scrambled. On to the next AITA. Here we go. Okay, I think this one's a longer one. Okay. Like I said, I'm not quite sure about the order of these. But it's Friday. We gonna make it work.
AITA for being mad that my stepdaughter will inherit our house. My husband, 65, and I, 47, have been married for 10 years. After my husband's retirement party, the discussion of wills and inheritance came up, and my husband informed me that he is leaving our marital home to his daughter, 30, in his will, which left me feeling completely blindsided and shocked. I am aware that due to our significant age difference, I will mostly likely outline husband by many years and will probably have to spend the last decades of my life alone. So I was really upset but also angry to learn I will most likely be kicked out of our house after my husband's death and left homeless. My husband explained to me that I knew the house belonged to his late wife, who inherited it from her parents, and that I couldn't possibly expect him not to leave his house to their daughter. I replied that the house now belongs to him, and as his wife I have a right to my marital home, and it's not fair that I will be kicked out of our home after I spend so much time and effort redecorating it and making it my own and become homeless after his death because I am a housewife and have nowhere else to go. He has an obligation to ensure my financial safety after his death. He said that it will be incredibly unfair to his daughter and his late wife if I inherit the house, and his wife would have never wanted that. His wife died unexpectedly at a relatively young age before she got around to making a will, so my husband automatically got the house as per inheritance laws. He also explained that I am the sole beneficiary of his life insurance and any savings left will be equally divided between me and his daughter. However, I don't think this money would be enough for me to survive the rest of my life, especially as my husband plans on having expensive cruises and holidays for the rest of his retirement. This is where, unfortunately, our argument escalated and we started yelling at each other. I told him he is screwing me over after everything I have done for him, after I gave up my job and my career for him to look after our home, and that I deserve to be compensated. He retorted that he never asked me to become a housewife and it was completely my own choice, that I knew the risks and benefits and made an informed choice, and he will be leaving a reasonable inheritance, and if I am not happy with it I should go back to work. I told him I never knew that I wouldn't get the house and that it's late for me to return after being out for over 10 years. I told him I never knew that I wouldn't get the house and that it's late for me to return after being out for over 10 years. That he is in a hole for leaving me stranded like this, and that this is not what I agreed to, and he is being a sexist prick by not recognizing my contribution to our family. He laughed at me, saying I never any kind of financial contribution, as we hired cleaners and housekeepers to do most of the chores, and if anything I was a drain by all the money I spend. Honestly, at this point I was so enraged and in tears, I screamed at him he is being completely cruel to M and locked myself in the guest room. So AITA for wanting the house if my husband dies before me? Edit. Okay, I got it. I am the AITA. I will apologize to my husband and try to look for a job, this time something not so stressful and something I will enjoy and build my own savings. I do not want to divorce my husband and take half. I honestly didn't marry him for money. I didn't even know he was wealthy until 6 months into our relationship. Honestly, when I met him I was done with dating and so jaded with men after being cheated on quite a bit, until he came along and honestly...
Okay, I don't want to hear her sob story. She killed me with the I didn't even know he had money. I don't want to divorce him and take half. Something tells me there's an ironclad prenup. Something tells me there's an ironclad prenup, and she thought that after being married to him for so long, he would switch up the prenup. She chose to be a housewife and then claiming she doesn't know that he has money. Girl, please. And I hate when people who have some money, who have some safety nets, act as if their mate passes away, there aren't additional safety nets for them, that there aren't multiple life insurance policies, that there aren't savings, that there aren't all this. He wants to go on expensive cruises. How expensive could a cruise be? Most people enjoy cruises because it is the most economically responsible way to vacation. You get to see multiple spots. You can pay a certain amount for exclusions. You're not gouged on it. Transportation is free. Your food is free. You've already paid for room and board for multiple places. Girl, bye. Instead of talking about you didn't think that the wife will go to the daughter, talking about it's your marital home. You moved into somebody else's house. That's not your marital home. A marital home is a place that you pick out with somebody else. And then you got a whole staff taking care of what you wasn't a housewife. You were a second teenager. No shade, no tea. You weren't taking care of a child. You weren't taking care of the house. But you feel entitled to it because you decorated it with his money. You had a career that you gave up. Talking about, well, I guess I'll look for a job. Girl, go get into retail. Go get into retail. And I'm pretty sure the way he said you was blowing through money, you had an allowance. So you was just blowing through the allowance. You ain't putting none in the bank. I didn't know he was wealthy until 6 months into your relationship. So that means you knew before you got married. And what was you going to do with the house? What was you going to do with the house? Because if you're saying that he would have left you homeless because he died, meaning you wouldn't have had any more income, if him leaving you the house, how are you going to pay the taxes? How are you going to pay the residual bills of the house? Let's say the mortgage is completely taken care of. Gas, electric, how was you going to do that? Wi-Fi, cell phone bills, property taxes, paying all this staff to come through and take care of it. How was you going to do that? And when you get old and wrinkly and can't move around the house, how are you going to get nursing? You just wanted to have a one-up on his daughter, OP. That's all you wanted. It wasn't even about you being needy. You wanted to one-up his daughter. You wanted to have that final put her in the place moment. You've been in competition with that young lady since you came into that man's life and found out that she existed. Because you're not even chasing the ghost of her mother. You are trying to prove that you are the number one woman in his life. You're worse than a boy mom. And y'all know how I hate the terms girl dad, boy mom, and all that shit. You're a fucking parent. Don't treat your children like a gender. Treat them like the individuals that they fucking are. Got a whole damn step. Do y'all know what I could accomplish if I could have a staff? I'm not talking about for my company. If I could have a staff for home what I could accomplish, I would have balanced the U.S. budget by now. Guns would definitely be under control by now. The things I would be able to do with the staff in the house, first thing on the list is get a full night's sleep, like sleep all the way through the night. Wake up perky, ready to tackle the world, okay? And could you imagine me with a non-tired brain? And this heifer she just changing pictures every couple of years? Because how would take you all this time to decorate a house? I don't care how big the house is. My granny used to completely redecorate her house every 4 years, top to bottom. If she started in the spring, shoot, by the time we came for the next holiday, it was done. Because you already been looking at that couch, hating it for a while. You done already figured out what couch you want. And the way she getting staff for everybody, I'm pretty sure there was a staff member to redecorate. Jesus, she ain't got no damn friends either. Well, a heifer like that wouldn't have no friends. Because she'd be afraid one of her friends would boink her husband away from her. Yeah, pretty much. All right, what's this next? I don't know what this next one is. All right, fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
Well, it seems as though several of our defendants in the great state of Georgia are starting to come to the terms of their bond agreement. Yes, folks, today we have more information on the bond amount for attorney John Eastman, who will be turning himself in, as well as additional details to Donald Trump, his bond, his terms of release.
Okay, we've already discussed that. I don't know why somebody sent that to me under Am I the Asshole, but whatever. I know we all should have just found a sad widow that happened to be rich and just shackle a tail feather for him. Hang in there, do like Janet Jackson did when she married that billionaire and he wanted a prenup, and she said, okay, here are my conditions for the prenup. If I stay married to you for 5 years, I get like X amount of hundreds of millions of dollars. And if I give you a son, I get X amount of hundreds of millions of dollars. And at 5 years and 5 days to the date, she was like, I'm out. Or do like Juanita Jordan, Michael Jordan's ex-wife. Sit there and let him have gambling problems, go through all of these scandals, cheat up and down every coast known to man, and just sit back and wait for him to get Hall of Fame status coins, the top sponsorship deals and everything. It was like, I'm going to take more than half. I'm out. That's what we should have did. Oh, no, nah. Nah, we got to fall in love with people and shit. All righty. Now, this last one, I was told clench your pearls. This is how it was described, so this is how I put it in. Motherhood through the pick-me lens. So let's take a look.
Women aren't becoming moms anymore because it sucks. There's literally no incentive to become a mom.
What incentive is there for women to have children? Number one, multiplicity. Number two, because that's literally what you were created for, to create life. And I know it seems like a big responsibility, but it's a rewarding responsibility. But here's what I know about rewards. They only come through resistance.
The cost of living is astronomical, which means the cost of childcare is astronomical. If you're lucky enough to have a spouse who makes enough money that allows you to comfortably be able to stay home with your child, that's almost unheard of.
You determine your cost of living based on where you're going to live. You're the only one responsible for how much money you have or don't have. So let's not try and put that on anybody else. And it's not unheard of to hear of one parent working and one parent staying at home. I do it, and millions of other mothers in the United States do it every single day. They just don't complain about it on TikTok.
There's practically no support whatsoever.
There is support so long as you're also giving it, because we can't get what we don't give. Support is something we cultivate, not just expect because I got pregnant.
There's no guarantee that the man that you married is going to, in fact, be an equal partner after your children are born.
No, there is no guarantee that the man you marry and decide to have babies with is always going to be that 100% equal partner. It might be because he also has a job and other responsibilities. But there is also nothing that guarantees that the woman who gives birth will even want or like her children. I think you represent that case in point profoundly. That's the other thing I want to just ask, just in genuine curiosity. You going off about how there's little incentive to be a mom and how much it just sucks to be a mom. What would you say if your children heard you saying that? You know, like, jeepers. I think about, like, what if my kids heard me say that? They'd question whether or not I really love them.
Now let's move past all of that.
Ma'am, I think your children are already questioning if you love them or not anyway. Let's start with her and the cost of living. Do we really determine where we're going to live? Do we really determine how much we're going to be paid? Because are there places within the continental United States that are cheaper to live? Yes. Is it easy or cheap to move to those places? Is it a guarantee that you will find a place that's cheap? And generally, if the cost of living is less, they're willing to pay you less. So even those people who have a lesser rent or mortgage than you, they're still struggling to pay it. Then she goes on to say that some women may not want an equal partner, and those partners can't be equal because they're working and they have other responsibilities to tend to. But don't you have those same other responsibilities? And no, everybody is not going to like their children every day. Nobody's going to like anybody every damn day. We may love them through everything, but no. I tell people the truth about parenthood all the time. One, it doesn't go by in a blink of an eye. That blink of an eye shit is for the people who come and visit your kids, because they may not see them but once every 3 to 5 business years and be like, oh, they're so big. Oh, they gotten so smart. It just went so quick. No, the fuck it doesn't when you're there in the trenches every single day. And the vast majority of your time, your kids have you looking at them like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Do you have working brain cells in there? Why the fuck do you choose to get on my damn nerves? I asked you how your day was. You said nothing for 3 hours as I sat here. Now that I'm doing something for myself, or I'm on the phone trying to set a doctor's appointment for you, now you want to tell me every goddamn thing now? Oh, you was well behaved when we were at the house and in the car. Now that we're in public, you want to try to show out because I can't throat punch you in front of the company? That's parenthood. And yes, there are a lot of mothers who get overwhelmed to the point where they don't like their children because they were forced into motherhood. And we were not created to procreate. And if your whole reason behind motherhood is multiplicity, you don't love anybody. You enjoy being an incubator and populating the planet with other people who bring nothing more than populating the planet. What is this weird obsession with forcing uterus bearers to take the bare bargain minimum out of life in order to just say that they're a wife and or mother? And what also boggles me is that people will hound you. When are you having kids? When are you having kids? When are you having kids? You have a kid. Well, you got to have more than one. You got to have more than one. You got to have more than one. I can barely afford this one. Oh, no, you're just doing it wrong. But you got to have more than one. They got to have a sibling. You have more than one. Why are you having all these kids? You shouldn't have all these kids. You said you couldn't afford them. Why'd you have kids if you couldn't afford them? That's just wrong. Your husband dies or y'all break up because it just didn't work out. Well, if the plan all along was to be a single mother, that's just not right. Your child is going to be so fucked up because it's just one of you all taking care of. It's always been one taking care of them. By society standards, it's always been one parent taking care of the kids. It's always been single parenthood. It's always been the mother's job to take care of the kids and the fathers to have fun and parade their kids around like fucking trophies a couple times a week or month. By the standards and the rhetoric that has been said, whether you're married, dating, or all by yourself, it's still single motherhood. If you're telling women don't expect any help from your partner, you're telling them to live as a single fucking parent. There is help out there, but you have to give help to get help. If I ain't got no fucking money, Becky, and I need money, what the fuck am I going? And this goes to show certain privileged people don't know what community is. And she's talking from a very privileged lens with that, since I do it, everyone else does it. And I cannot stand those type of people that believe that everybody has their life experience, that everybody has done the same things that they've done, that everybody thinks the way that they think. And that's why they have such an attitude and get so uppity and toot their nose up to everybody, because they're looking at everybody as if they're the reflection of themselves in the mirror. And women like that, they're miserable. They're absolutely miserable. But because they've sold their lifestyle to so many other people and convinced so many of their friends and women they've met at the park and at the playground and at church and all the to get into bed just like them, they can't leave. Because that would be admitting defeat. And that's what life is to them. Winning and losing. Not happiness, not fulfillment, not actually living life, just winning and losing. As always, thank you for joining me here on Conversations with Taz for Freeform Friday. Keep in mind that this Sunday there will be a special episode because that is when Royal Star will be back for part 2. And as always, make sure you check out the links in the description of this video. And if you enjoy the podcast, when you come back, bring a friend. As always, each one teach one, each one reach one. Till Sunday, y'all.